our first presenter, Dr. Adam Hamed, who is a vaccinologist and bioethicist. He heads the research unit at the Department of Health, Mombasa County. He is passionate about research and very enthusiastic about writing scientific papers. He enjoys coaching and mentorship and believes we learn more when we learn together. Welcome, Daktari.
Thank you, Phyllis, for the wonderful introduction, and good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to be presenting this short webinar on Introduction to Abstract Writing. I hope I'm audible enough. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible, Daktari. I can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, so I would start with today's webinar, which is an introduction to abstract writing. And then my colleague, Dr. Denton, will follow after that with what we are doing. So for today, as I continue, you can see that so today's webinar is on Introduction to Writing an Abstract. We want to see and understand how we can be able to develop and understand what is an abstract, and be able to write an abstract for the scientific conference, which we are aware of the upcoming Department of Health Scientific Conference that is scheduled to tentatively to be happening on 31st July, 1st and 2nd August. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and say, what is an abstract? So before I ask, can people write in the chat what is an abstract in a word or two? What do you think what is an abstract? I cannot see anyone's comments. What is an abstract? Okay, good. Regina says it's a summary of the project. It's a snapshot of the research. Very good. I see people very well knowing what is going on. Good. There is summary of research. So yeah, as we are saying, an abstract is actually a concise summary of the research paper or entire thesis or a study subject. We need to make sure it's an original work, it's not plagiarized or not an accepted passage. It should make sense by itself without reference. So it is making sense and you're not making any reference to what is going on. It highlights the key content areas. What is your research purpose? Why are you conducting this particular research that is ongoing? The relevance or importance of your work and the main outcomes. When we see an abstract, the title, it can only make the simplest statement about what the content of your article is going to be. The title itself should be very attracting because you're going to be attracted to that particular research with the title. But the title can just attract you a little bit, but the abstract itself allows you to elaborate more on each major aspect of your paper. If you're another researcher, if you're doing a study similar to the one you are reporting, would you be happy with the information that is presented in the abstract? So think about that. If you're another researcher, you're doing a research, would you be happy with what is presented in an abstract? So what should you not do in an abstract? you should not make it lengthy. The minute the abstract is lengthy, it is not an abstract anymore. It becomes a research paper. So it should not be lengthy. It should be elliptical. That is, it can be understood what exactly is going on. It should not contain incomplete sentences and abbreviation or terms that may be confusing. If you're using abbreviations, make sure you state at the starting of in the start when the first time the abbreviation has been used. So when you're composing your abstract, keep in mind that it should be direct, that it should not contain too much detail, context or in-text or parenthetical citations, because this, you're actually going to use it in your body of the paper. Try and be concise. Abstracts should be no more than 1 page in length. So as I've said, if it is lengthy, it's no longer an abstract. For a dissertation, doctoral study, or capstone, the abstract may not exceed 1 page. The minute it's lengthy, it's not an abstract anymore. It should be complete. It should give the reader the full scope of the arguments that are being made or conclusions drawn in the paper. You should summarize your paper in the abstract rather than actually introducing it. So the abstract gives you a way of summarizing what is happening. So why do we write an abstract? We write an abstract because it helps us to decide this particular research is relevant or not to the purposes that particular researcher is researching on. And when indexing is being done, most academic journal databases are accessed through the library, and it enables you to search the abstract. So the journals actually in their database, they actually just put your abstract. So as I said initially, that is what attracts your attention of that particular paper that you have conducted. So this allows for quick retrieval by users, and abstracts must incorporate the key terms that a potential researcher would use to search. So if the key terms in your abstract actually helps you to put in when the research is being conducted and it's being searched in the journal databases, your abstract actually comes up. So when is it necessary to write abstracts? When do we usually write abstracts? One, when we are submitting articles to a journal. So if you're writing an abstract, if you're submitting an article or a paper to a journal, you need to make sure you're submitting the abstract first. If you're applying for a research grant, the research grant will not be able to read the entire research study. So they will read through your abstract and make information based on that. Then when we look into completion and submission of your thesis, once you've completed your thesis, you need to have your abstract, which is available, which actually explains what you actually did in the conduct of your research, and submission of proposals to conference papers. And the upcoming conference, we have the upcoming conference, the abstract actually shows what particular research you've actually conducted. So what are you going to include in an abstract? The first thing we've already talked about is the title, which is the title that attracts the attention of the reader or the researcher that is going to be researching. Then we have the introduction. So what is in the introduction that you actually put in? In the introduction, you actually write the reason for writing this particular study, what is the importance of the research, and why would a reader be interested in the larger work? So why would a reader or that particular person be interested in reading your particular research that you've conducted? Then the problem. What is the problem? So the problem is, what problem is this work attempting to solve by this particular research? What is the scope of the project? And what is the main argument thesis or claim. Then we have the section on methodology. So methodology is actually what an abstract of a scientific work that you are going to be including in specific models or approaches. And it's used in the larger study, and abstracts actually describe the type of evidence used in the research. So this methodology actually explains what was being done, and it may also include intervention used or the responses that has been done. Okay. Next, we have the results and the lessons learned section. So what is included in the results and the lessons learned section? In the results and lessons learned section, we share the primary results of your study or intervention. We try to make it as relevant as possible and to include numbers in addition to proportions. So in your results, you make sure there's primary results of your study, the numbers that is there, what specifically you did, what was the percent, 10% of these people got this particular disease, 10% of this particular people were saved from this disease. That is actually being brought in the results section. Then we have the conclusion. The conclusion actually outlines the key message and what specifically is your implication of the study that you're actually conducting. So, as I had mentioned, when you are writing an abstract, you need to make sure you've done edits before you're actually submitting. Because if you're submitting something that is not proofed, that actually gives an idea that you actually were not very confident enough of the research that you conducted, and you are trying to give a rubbish paper or particular aspect or what you've conducted. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you edit carefully. So an abstract is an important way you're promoting your work, the research that you actually conducted. So you need to take time to read the instructions and familiarize yourself with the submission requirements. So you need to first look into that particular journal, that particular conference that you're applying to. What are the guidelines that requires for the submission of abstract? Because you did an abstract for a particular conference, you have an idea what has happened, you just copy and paste from that thing and send it again. But that you've not proofread it. So read the instructions, what that particular journal, what particular conference is asking you to do. Then you need to understand the target audience. Who will be reading your abstract? So is this abstract going to be read by the reviewers? Is it going to be read by the people that are going to be reading this particular paper? Who is going to read this particular abstract? And then you clearly state the hypothesis or the statement of purpose. Why did you actually conduct this research? Then you need to tie the results and the conclusion back to the hypothesis or the statement of purpose. So you actually know why you're conducting the research. So your results and the conclusion should be based on what you said was the reason of conducting your research. Then the main thing is review. Look into what you have written. Then you review it again, because there is no harm in proofreading it again. Review it again, then allow your friend or your colleague to read it. Sometimes it's good if I read it and I cannot notice something that has been done. So I allow my colleague to proofread it just to make sure that multiple people have gone through what is going on. So Now, we already know that